Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sasha. Today I'm going to be talking about something I have just gotten into, and it's more or less become my newest hyperfixation. Let's just add it to the list. I described it as the last time I was this hyperfixated on something, it was K-pop. And we're 5 years deep, and K-pop is part of my DNA, so we're probably in this for the long haul unless my heart gets just torn out and stomped on, which it already has, which is why today we're talking about the C-drama, the Chinese drama, Kill Me Love Me. Before we get started with today's video, if you've never been to my channel before, hello, my name is Sasha. I do K-pop reaction videos here on this channel, as well as some daily life vlogging things, and now apparently talking about C-dramas. I also have a second channel where I talk about bookish things and book reviews and book hauls and shortly writing vlogs as well. So if you're interested in either of those things, please stick around, please check out both those channels, consider subscribing. It is a free way to help me as a content creator. I would very much appreciate it. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to keep up with my weekly newsletter. It's free to all members. And then I also have paid membership tiers which offer you something different once a month, in addition to seeing my videos a few days early before they come live here on YouTube. Before we get started, we have a quick word from today's sponsor. Hi there friend, it's me, and today's sponsor is my Etsy shop. Have you ever come across a photo of your bias and thought to yourself, man, I wish I could keep this forever and ever and take it with me everywhere on all of my adventures? Have you ever started reading a book and realized you needed to take a little break, but when you looked around, you had nothing except a receipt from your local boba shop to put in to mark your place? Hey, we're here to listen. We don't judge. But we might be able to solve both of those problems at dreamingofstarsco.etsy.com. There you will find a wide range of items including fan-made photo cards, upcycled K-pop bookmarks, and digitally designed bookmarks, all made by me, Sasha Marie, actually in this very room here, right here. I make them all right here. You can use code WELCOME10 for a discount on your first order. Thanks for watching, and now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Okay, so when I got into K-pop, I did a very similar thing where I said, listen, I'm gonna start trying to get on Duolingo, I'm gonna start trying to learn the Korean language, trying to learn Hangul, and I pretty much learned the alphabet and learned how to read and sound out the words. And it's been 5 years now, so I do know a good handful of words in Korean or phrases just because I've been immersed in it and have watched a lot of videos and heard a lot of songs. But I thought to myself, I learn languages best just by hearing them and by repetition, and also I have to see them and know what the words look like and sound like. So I said, I'm gonna start watching some K-dramas. I watched a handful of K-dramas. I honestly loved them. It was incredibly refreshing. When it comes to American shows and dramas, I'm kind of more on the comedy side of things. I like Friends, I like Gilmore Girls, I loved Grey's Anatomy, I watched that a lot, which is definitely not comedy. So that's kind of the realm of show I would watch. I'm obsessed with these fantasy, historical dramas, the costuming, the everything. So that's where I went down the K-drama direction. I also did some I did True Beauty also. My first one ever was Goblin. Earth-shattering. Anyway, this is not about K-dramas, but that is to say, when I want to learn a new language or immerse myself in a culture, I start by seeking out media to watch. And so with the world events happening in early January of 2025, I got on this app called Xiaohongshu, and I was like, I don't even want to post my first video until I can say the entire thing in Chinese, because I want to respect the culture and respect the platform, and I haven't commented on anything. I only like videos, I'll save stuff, but I don't interact yet because I want to be able to do it authentically and in the way it was intended for the app, which is not everyone's stance or take, and that's fine. Everyone can approach it the way that they want to. This is just how I'm choosing to do that. So, after I got Xiaohongshu, I downloaded Duolingo. I started doing the Chinese Duolingo, having a good time with it. I hear a lot of people complain about Duolingo in general, and I do think it's not like the only thing you should be using to try and learn a language, but I do think it is really helpful in just getting a lot of base and a foundation of words, even if the grammar isn't necessarily always correct. That's what someone had mentioned online. Anyway, so I started with Duolingo, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready to dive in to a Cdrama. And I kind of just Googled, like, Cdramas, and there were a ton, and I also asked people on TikTok before I deleted my account, got some great recommendations there, and the one I ended up picking was Kill Me Love Me, which is currently available on Netflix. That's the way that I watched it. I'm gonna just gush, rave, rant about this drama for the next however long this video is. This video will include spoilers, so it's really best for people who have already seen the show, who want someone's opinion, people like me who now search out the shows I'm going to be watching and read everything that's going to happen, because I need to be prepared. I cannot go into these shows blind anymore. I can't do it. I must know what's going to happen, and I mentally was not ready for this show, and I'll never make that mistake again. So if you fall into any of those categories, welcome. We're going to talk about it. So I loved the premise of this show, and it definitely starts off with a tragedy and ends the same way. So really, I shouldn't have been surprised the direction that this show continued to take. In the very first episode, we meet Meilin, and I apologize for my pronunciations of these names. I pretty much only know Meilin and Jungha. Jungha! She screams his name a lot, so I'm trying to like, Jungha! I don't speak out loud very much in Chinese. I mostly just listen to it, so pardon me for my pronunciations throughout this video. So we meet Meilin as her entire village is being burned, and she has an idea of who's doing it because she catches them in the act and takes like a talisman off of their body as they sort of fight, because she's trying to get them to stop. She watches her family die before her very eyes, and she then tries to go kill the prince whose people may have potentially burned down her village, and he ends up shooting her in the legs and with arrows, and it's like a very intense, gruesome scene. He is also now wheelchair bound because the night of the fire he was attacked and almost murdered and is now disabled. That's how we meet our two main characters. That all doesn't happen in the first episode, but that's essentially like, if we follow the timeline in chronological order, that's what would have happened, because this show jumps from timeline to timeline to timeline, from character to character to character, and while that is very entertaining, it is incredibly hard to try and explain as like a review, or as, I don't know, someone who's already seen it and is now trying to like piece together, okay, this is what happened chronologically, but what episode did this actually like be shown to the audience? Couldn't tell you. I don't remember. So because of the tragedy that befell Meilin and her village, she joins this like assassins guild, and her whole mission in life is to kill this prince who she believes is the reason her whole family has died. And she finally gets sent on a mission where a bunch of women, beautiful women, are being sent to the prince and the emperor as like a chance to become his concubine, I think. Like, there's a princess from a neighboring town or area, and her father has sent her to become a concubine of the prince who burned down the town's father. Okay, are we connecting the dots? I hope so. So, this concubine who is being sent to marry the emperor, who's the father of the prince who's disabled, has Meilin, the assassin, but no one knows she's an assassin, as the troop of part of her, like, beautiful women to come with her. So their first stop isn't directly to the emperor, because the way that their town is, it's like they're over here, they have to pass the disabled prince, and then they would get to where the emperor lives. So they stop and meet the disabled prince. This scene I saw a clip of either in the trailer or in someone's review of this, I don't remember. It's the scene where she goes already, she's been there like less than a day, and she already tries to kill him. She finds him bathing, and he pulls her into the bathtub. It's not really a tub, it's like a small pool. That scene, incredible. It hooked me right from the beginning. I was like, I can never stop watching this. I must know what happens. Their chemistry is so good. How sassy they are to each other, incredible. And we also find out in that scene that he can walk. He can stand up and walk away. So while his injuries from the night of the fire did disable him, he's no longer as disabled as he puts on to the general public, because he's waiting for this big moment to uncover who actually caused the fires, because it wasn't him. He's just letting everyone think it was him until he has enough proof to exonerate himself and be like, it wasn't me. And also, I'm not disabled and I could be the next ruler if you wanted me to be. So they have that meeting, and it all just sort of is a whirlwind from there. So then everyone is brought to the emperor. We meet the emperor. We meet the prince's older brother, who's next in line to become the emperor. We find out that it is actually this older brother who is the villain of the entire story. Literally every second that man was on the screen, and this is no shade to the actor because I'm sure he's a wonderful person and human being, but I would literally sit there and just flip off my screen every time he came on, because I hated this man so very much. Oh my god, he did such a great job as the actor, but I was just like, boy, would I catch you? Anyway, so she once again tries to assassinate the prince, except this time she does it in front of literally everyone, and she gets imprisoned for it, but by now she has figured out that the prince didn't do it. So as she's trying to assassinate him, she misses intentionally, and she's like, save me, and I will help you uncover the truth, because she knows the truth. By this time, we're like 10 episodes deep or something. She's figured out enough things, she's connected enough dots. She knows it's not him. There are a ton of other assassination attempts, not just on her, but also on the prince by his brother, now that they're in proximity together. There's an incredible one where they go on this hunting trip together. The emperor is there, everyone is there. His new concubine wife is there, who has become best friends with Meilin. The concubine's brother is also in love with Meilin because he was trapped during the fires, and Meilin saved him and helped him get out, and he has never forgotten her, and he is also sort of next in line to become the emperor of his place where he lives. So we have a tangled web of people and characters, and it is craziness. We also have all of the women who were brought to the emperor as the beauties, and Meilin on and off will end up living with them and befriending them, and circumstances will happen where someone's trying to kill her, but they kill them like on accident or instead. So she's losing friends left and right. She's already lost her whole family. She is now potentially falling for the prince she was meant to assassin. Oh, by the way, when the head of the Assassin's Guild sent her on this mission to kill the prince, he poisoned her and said she had X amount of time to assassinate him or she would die from the poison. So, like, not only are all these people dying, but she's also potentially dying, and she keeps trying to find this cure for the poison. She'll get the cure and then get interrupted, and the cure will get stolen, and it's just like, so much is happening. So this has incredible fight sequences, incredible choreography. that is one of the things that really drew me into this, was female assassin. She's such a badass. When she fights with people, it's her and like 20 grown men. I just love that shit. I eat that up. It was so good. But it does go downhill a little bit towards the end, which we'll get to because I don't want to get there yet. I also thought it was really incredible and beautiful scenery, very moving in terms of the storytelling, incredibly compelling in the way that, because of all of the back and forth in terms of the timeline, where we'll see them as children, we'll see them growing up, and this goes for all the characters pretty much. Like, the concubine and her brother we see as kids, so we understand them a little bit better. We see Jung-ha, the prince, and his brother as kids, so we understand where some of the animosity came from when they were children and has continued into adulthood. We see Mei-lin as a child and her family, and like the vision she had for herself as an adult with her live-in husband. So all of the storytelling of this, I thought, up to a point, was so beautiful and so wonderful, and I was just so deeply invested. It did get to a point around episode like 22, 23, where I was like, we keep digging this hole deeper and deeper and deeper, and I do not see a way out for any of my favorite characters. So this is when I looked up what would happen at the end, and I was devastated. I took a few weeks off from watching the show. I even brought this up in therapy, and I was like, I feel like I have to continue it just to see how they do these things, but I did not want to keep. I watched this show out of pure malice and hate at that point. I was so upset because essentially everyone dies. And before we even get there, I didn't even mention the prince is in love, the bad prince, the evil villain prince, is in love with their army general, who is a woman who grew up with the two princes, and she has always loved the younger prince, Jung-ha. Oh my god, I said his name wrong every time. She's in love with the younger disabled prince. So the older brother has always been jealous, and she has to marry soon. Like, that is sort of just a rule or whatever. I don't remember how they used it in the plot, but she has to marry. The older prince is trying to convince her to marry him. This scene was so disgusting, and I hated them for doing this, and then for the way that they continued her storyline after. He essentially drugs her and starts to sexually assault her, and then after she wakes up from it, she's like now in love with him and agrees to marry him, and is like, well, I was compromised and now I have no point, but also now I'm like happy about it. I love this man. He can do no wrong. I don't care if he's evil. Even when she finds out that he's been trying to kill his younger brother, who she actually does love and has loved since she was a child, she's just like, it's okay, I still love you, I'll find you in my next life. That is so out of character for this character that it was just like, what are we doing here? That was crazy. Didn't enjoy that plot at all. The only thing I liked, and even though like I hated this character, it still did make me cry, was that she was the one who ended up killing her husband. She ended up being like, have tea with me, and he knew that she had poisoned it, and he drank it because he loved her, and he wouldn't want to die by anyone else's hand but hers, because he was already in jail for trying to kill his literal father, the emperor, and also his brother. Like, everything had come to light at that point. And so yeah, she kills him. But she's like sad over her husband for the rest of the show. And I was like, you mean the man that drugged you and assaulted you? You love him even though you wanted nothing to do with him previous to that? Okay, alright. So kind of from that point, the show takes a downward spiral. My favorite part though is actually when Jung-ha and Mei-lin are in the village together. They are hiding out because they're trying to make it look like he was successfully assassinated and he is actually dead, because they're trying to find someone, and it just works with the plot. Anyway, them in the village being like husband and wife is when they finally officially completely admit to each other that they love each other and they do want to spend the rest of their lives together. And it was just the most incredible and sweet moments of the show. A lot of people that I've read online did not enjoy this section, but it had been so chaotic and so gory and so just like, I was so angry for so many of the episodes before this, and it was finally like, oh my god, I can just relax and take a deep breath. And I loved those episodes of them in the village. After that, they come back. The other prince is dead now, so we just have Jung-ha. He is sent away to the village that was burned down by his brother, but everyone still thinks that it was him, even though the emperor puts out a decree explaining. The people obviously are going to be like, what a bunch of words, right? Like, we know that it was him. So he is sent there for sort of like retribution, to spend X amount of years there rebuilding, making them have better livelihoods, all of these things. And while he's there, he sends Mei-lin away to live with the other prince of the other place whose sister is the concubine to his father. And he does that by trying to get Mei-lin to believe that it was all a joke, and now that his brother is dead, he doesn't need her anymore, and he never actually loved her, and their whole time in the village was just like him buying time and still playing the game. And so she is taken away from him. And it's just, I might have got some of the timeline wrong there, because I think he definitely takes her away because he's about to be killed or attempted to be killed. I think this is right before like the brother gets found out, so he's trying to protect her by having her sent away. Regardless, he breaks her heart, sends her away with the other guy. She's just as much in danger over there because they have the cure, but his father, the other emperor, is fucking nuts. Like, this man is legitimately out of his mind, and he steals the cure and uses it on himself, even though it literally won't do anything for him. So now her one and only hope of not dying in 3 months is taken away. She eventually, like, knows that she has to leave this other prince because even though he's been the good guy the entire show, his whole personality flips, and now he's, like, hurts her and barricades her there and keeps her there, and she's like, fuck this. And so she kills herself to escape. Jung-ha goes to her gravesite, digs her up, and just, like, keeps her in his house for like a week, dead body and all. And he's convinced that she's not dead. He's convinced that this is something she learned as an assassin. He's convinced that she's going to wake up, and right before she does wake up, her friends steal her back, and then she just lives in the same town as him and disguises herself. And even though he sees her and knows she's there, he is respecting her boundaries and sort of like keeps her at a distance until eventually they come together, and by the time that they do, she's like a month away from dying, so they do end up getting married, and they have a very beautiful wedding, and the roles are subverted because he's the bride in this situation because she wanted a live-in husband, and it's like such an adorable moment. And then the whole rest of the show, they are at war with the crazy emperor. His right-hand man, who is one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character, gets killed. Horrific. This is where it starts to go crazy, and I am going to maybe cry. So, if you start seeing animals on the screen, it's because I didn't want to cry on camera today. So, his best friend dies. At the same time, we're seeing the concubine sister who's married to the emperor, his father, is pregnant. She ends up having a miscarriage. She dies. We go back to the war, and it's just like, the general who is married to the older brother, she gets injured, she loses her eye, she doesn't die, thank goodness, but her, like, right-hand woman also dies saving her. And then the only people who are left at this point is the prince who was in love with Meilin, who at the end of their, like, relationship together, even though it was always one-sided and he knew that, like, everything he did was in her best interest, but to the point where he was harming her and, like, couldn't see that. He's the only one left of his family. He's on track to become emperor, or does become emperor. Jung-ha and Meilin have, like, a few days left together because right after the last battle, she collapses. Meilin passes away, and then you watch Jung-ha become emperor after his father gives him the throne, and it says, like, he never takes any other concubines, he never has any children, he lets his nephew become his successor, and then you watch him die. And boy, oh boy, did that show fuck me up. I literally spent, I don't remember how long the show is, if it was 40 episodes or 30 episodes, but I spent from, like, episode 25 to the end sobbing hysterically. I cried so hard my eyes swelled shut. Oh my gosh. So, that's Kill Me Love Me. And it did kill me. And I don't know if I loved it. And I don't know if I would ever recommend this show to anyone. Unless you just need to cry. Because it is great for the crying. Because that is genuinely what I did for most of the show. Again, obsessed with the settings and the scenery and how beautiful it was. Obsessed with the OST, even though that song Pavlov dogged me so bad, because by the time I, like, cried in one episode, anytime I would hear the first note of that song, I would immediately weep. It wouldn't matter what was happening on screen, I would hear that song and cry. So that was great. I don't know, I guess my, like, kind of fault with the ending, perhaps, is that, what do you mean there was only one stupid flower that could cure this poison? What do you mean that when you are writing the story and you have the power to do literally anything, you make it so that it's one flower that can only blossom one time of year? And what do you mean that right when it was blooming for the second time after the first one, it got taken by the crazy emperor? What do you mean you burned the whole forest down? What do you mean? The writers, I hope their pillows warm on both sides all the time, because that is crazy work. That is actually crazy work. And also the point, like, this is the other thing, the good prince, who ended up becoming, like, sort of, what the hell are you doing, prince? He, like, bound her, not her powers, but her, like, kung fu and her ability to fight back. He did something where he shot her with a dart, and whatever was in that dart, she could no longer protect herself. So for the whole rest of the show, she goes from being this badass, incredible assassin to as vulnerable as a child, essentially, because she's weak from this poison. She can't fight back, so it devolved so quickly. There was that point, like I said, where I started to research what would happen at the end, where I was like, I don't know how we're getting out of this. And I was in fact correct, because nothing that happened after that point was anything I would have imagined for those characters. I don't think any of them had a happy ending. I don't think most of them fucking died, so obviously not. Yeah, it was so sad. It was just a roller coaster of emotions, but don't you worry, because I will be back with another episode to talk about a Cdrama, because to make up for how depressed I was, I looked for one with a happily ever after, and I found Love Between Fairy and Devil. It's my newest hyperfixation. If you thought C-dramas in general were my hyperfixation, I have started painting. I'm looking at it right now. I've started painting scenes from that show. I don't care. I'll show you. That's not the show we're talking about, but I'll show you. I've started painting scenes from the show. I've started translating the OST so I can sing it and know what the words mean because I'm already re-watching it. I have found all of the actors on social media, on Weibo, and if I can, on Xiaohongshu, and I'm on Tumblr now, and Tumblr is a great place for C-dramas and GIFs and analysis. We're going to be talking about that next. It's a happily ever after. I recommend it to everyone. I texted my therapist and I said, you need to watch this show. Okay, anyway, that's it for me today. Yeah, what did you think about Kill Me Love Me? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. Was there anything I didn't talk about that you wish that I had? There's so much we could have talked about. I feel like I tried to hit all the main points, or the things that stood out the most to me. Anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright.